Hello, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Storytime with the Scariest Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, and this is Adam Diaz, and today we're here to talk to you guys, or tell you guys, really, your homegrown horrors that Adam will explain.
Yeah, so homegrown horrors are the spiritual, spooky, paranormal, creepy, sometimes true crime, sometimes purely coincidental stories that you wonderful folks have decided to send in to us, and we read back to the community. And if folks have a story like that, Robin, where can they send them?
So you folks can send them to storytime@scariest.com. You can also go to our new revamped website, scariest.com, and go to the Contact Us page, fill out that form, and contact us that way.
Indeed you can. So we are hoping to get homegrown horrors from all of you wonderful spooky listeners out there. 4 folks have sent in their stories for this evening's show, so we're going to go ahead and read those. Now I can tell you there is 1 short, 2 mediums, and 1 long. So that's how we're going to go. Robin has the 2 mediums, I have the short and the long, and I'm not sure who's going to start. Probably me, though, I'm guessing.
Yeah, because I don't have my emails up yet.
I'm going to go ahead and get into my first story of the evening, and it starts out like this. The subject is a short but sweet homegrown horror.
All right.
Starts out like this. Hey, Adam and Robin.
Hey.
Hey. I just want to point out they spelled hey, H-E-I, so I'm pretty sure that's like how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Or it could be hi. I don't know. My name is Abby, and this is my 4th story that I've sent you. This one is shorter than before, so I'm sorry. And it has a question mark at the end of it. This is not my story, but my mom's story from when she was young. She told me this story when I was in elementary school. I still remember this because it's so short, but it's so spooky. The story goes like this. Near my grandmother's house, there was a coconut tree. When my mother was on her way home, I forget if where she was coming from, she saw a coconut on the ground near that tree. As she was getting closer to it, because you need to pass the tree to get to my grandmother's house, she realized that it was not a coconut, but a person's head. She got scared and ran past the tree all the way to my grandmother's house. Sorry for the abrupt ending. She didn't tell me what happened after. God. P.S. I know it's so entertaining to hear your banter when you guys are tired, but I hope you two have a good rest.
Aw, thank you.
Keep on creeping on. Abby, smiley face.
Thank you so much. You know what's funny is that last night we didn't even finish recording the episode until 3 a.m. So we do need the rest.
The episodes always release. I shouldn't say always because we've missed the time a couple of times. Only by like a few hours or so, but they are supposed to release at 4 a.m. So last night, I think I got done editing it, and when I upload it to our server and everything, and it's like, it suggests a release time, which is always in the next 15 minutes. I always have to adjust it, like, no, on this day at this time. And last night when I uploaded it, it's like, would you like to release at 4 a.m.? I was like, yes, I would, Spreaker. Yes, I would. So it was kind of funny. But it's also funny that they said they hope we get some rest because due to quarantine and, jobs not being there anymore, we're getting all the rest we could ever hope for.
Like, I didn't wake up till like 12:30 today. So
I woke up at 9 because I had a knock on wood job interview. So we'll see what happens with that. Nothing to announce yet. Don't want to jinx it. I probably shouldn't have even said anything. Might want to delete that out of the episode. I won't. I didn't mark it. But yeah, I think it's kind of weird that your mom told you this story about, like, grandma's house. That coconut tree? Saw a guy's head there once. Not going to tell you anything else, though.
It grows people's heads.
Right? Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's a tree from hell and it grows people's heads. Maybe that's how people are made. I still don't know. So I don't know where babies come from. I'm pretty sure it's the head tree, which sounds like a really fun tree, not the tree that you went by. But I would say try and dig in and get some more details from dear old mom and see what happened with that, and maybe send us your 5th email because I'm very, very curious. Or maybe tell your mom to send us an email that lets us know exactly what happened and what was going on there because I am very curious. So
yeah,
right on. Solid one to start. Thank you very much, Annie.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So before we go any further, I want to mention, although we're not bringing a lot of what's going on during the live stream into the show anymore, I do want to say we were lucky enough to get into this beta for Twitch where we can have a watch party where we can pick something from this list of stuff. It's a list of shows and movies that are through Amazon Prime. It's not a lot of them. I think there's like maybe 100. I
just realized why.
Why?
Because Amazon's teamed with Twitch.
You just realized that?
I just realized that.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Wow.
So we're going to have a watch party Saturday, I think at noon was what we discussed. Our normal streaming time for video games. It's Saturday at noon at twitch.tv/scarishpodcast. We're all going to watch The Woman in Black, also known as Harry Potter and the Very Spooky House. Because it is Daniel Radcliffe, obviously, and it'll be fun because we can all get together and watch this movie.
Yeah, so it's going to
test out this brand new beta technology.
It'll be really cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, and it might not work. It might just be us talking about how we can't believe that this stupid thing doesn't work, but we're going to give it a shot. So if you want to join us at noon Pacific Standard Time on Saturday, this Saturday, which I think is 15, 16, 17, 18, the 18th, is that right? Yeah, Saturday the 18th.
I don't know how to count.
We are going to be watching The Woman in Black and trying out this brand new technology because Twitch has graced us with this beta access, so it'll be pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm really, really, really excited, just because we haven't been able to do our watch parties that we wanted to do, like watching Haunting at Hill House with everyone and stuff like that. So the fact that this is going to happen, I'm like, yes. This is great. I'm so glad we're in this beta. It'll be really fun.
And who knows? There's some things we can watch also. There's not a whole lot of movies on there, but there is the Jack Ryan series, which I really do like.
Yeah.
So maybe we wind up doing that. There was one more that
I wanted to watch. Good Omens. I wanted to watch that one.
What we should do is we should pull like 10 out and put them on Patreon and let people pick our watch party. And every other week we can do video games one week, and then the next week we can do a watch party. So, but yeah, noon on Saturday. That's what we're looking at. If you're on the East Coast, it's 3 p.m. And if you're Central, it's 2. So there you go.
All right. So this next email is titled Dream Visitations. And it begins, Hi, Adam and Robin.
Hello.
Hello. My name's Bethany, and I love listening to the podcast. It gets me through the day at work. Whoop, whoop. I do that too. I listen to podcasts. So I'm just going to jump into my story. Let's dive right in. Just dive right in. You can't see my arms. I'm being ridiculous.
No one can see her arms.
So I'd love your thoughts.
Her arms are camouflaged right now. Absolutely no one can see her arms.
You can't see me.
Wow.
I'm John Cena.
I hate you so much.
All right. So I'd love your thoughts on if this was a visitation or if you have any insight on dream interpretation.
Okay.
About a month ago, my grandmother passed away. I was pretty close with her. We're so sorry
for your loss.
Pretty close with her, just as close as I am with any family member. Losing her was hard for everyone in the family, and our family will forever be missing her. So it's been a month since her passing, and that's when the dreams began. One night, I dreamed I was by myself in a dark room with only candles lit that made a Ouija board in front of me visible. I placed both my hands on the planchette and said, "Is anybody there?" And I felt the planchette begin to move, and it crossed the board to point to yes. I then woke up, and that was all I could remember dreaming that night. The dream felt so real. Let it be known that I never used a Ouija board before, just in case that's important or not, since they want us to kind of give an opinion about
our interpretation.
Right. The following night, my dreams continued. In this dream, I was fully aware that my grandmother had passed away. I was in her home just sorting through some of her items. I remember picking up a small pink clutch and opening it. The lining of the bag was made of old newspapers. That's what old chests/luggage were lined with back in the day. Really?
I didn't know that.
I did not know that. In my head, I recognized that this pink clutch must be an antique or family heirloom. I tried to read the newspapers lining the clutch to try and figure out if the bag was from Poland or Ireland. My family prominently came from those two countries. I have no idea if this bag actually exists in real life. All right. For some reason, I didn't get a chance to actually read the newspaper and just moved on to looking at a scrapbook that my grandmother made. In my opinion, I feel like it's really hard to read in dreams. It's not impossible.
They always say I've heard it's impossible, but
I've read in my dreams before.
I think object permanence is what's supposed to be difficult. So it's like why you can't dial a phone number sometimes, because like you'll dial your number, if you look away and you look back, the numbers have changed. Same thing with letters and words. It's like the sides of your brain not communicating properly while you're in a dream state. So maybe that's why.
Okay, so as I was flipping through this scrapbook, I saw images of myself and my sister as children, my cousins and family members that I didn't recognize, but I knew they were family. While I was flipping through the scrapbook, my grandmother started talking to me, and I turned to see her sitting next to me. She said, "I made this so you could remember. I made this so you could know about everyone and so they could remember you." That's very, very, very sweet. I didn't have to ask her if she was okay because I just knew, and I just felt this calming warmth. She continued, "I will stay around for about a month, maybe a month or a bit longer." I didn't ask her, but in my head I thought, how long? And she said, "Dear, I'm going to stay as long as I can until I have to go." That's very sweet. And I think that's a really important dream to have, especially when you lose someone that you're really close to.
And you need closure.
Is like that sense of closure. I think that's really important. I woke up and I immediately knew this dream was real. It felt too real to just be a dream. Once the day progressed, I began to question if I was just letting my imagination run, and if the dream was simply nothing more than a dream. But it just felt too real. My dad really isn't into the paranormal, but I felt like I should tell him about it since it was his mother after all. I told him all about my dreams, and he said that he immediately got the chills while I was speaking. He explained that the day before, one of his clients asked him if he knew about any homes for sale, and my dad told him about my grandmother's home that's now available. His client said that he would want to come and see it the following week, and that he wants to move in a little over a month from now. What?
It's kind of crazy.
That in her dream, it was like, I'll only be around for a month, maybe longer. And then this guy comes and is like, I need this house in a month. That's so crazy. My grandmother requested that her ashes and my Pop-Pop's ashes be buried together. That's super cute. I don't want to be mixed with you, because then our bodies will be like, what if I have an arm sticking out of here?
It'll be just like any time I've ever slept since I've met you. The knee or an elbow on my back, for love's sake.
For the rest of eternity. They have yet to be buried since her funeral service. The ashes will be buried by the time the house is sold. Is she waiting to cross over until her ashes are buried? Is she waiting until the house is sold? Is she waiting for everyone to come to terms with her loss? Thoughts? Thanks for reading. By the way, you can totes put this on the podcast, Bethany. Thank you so much for sending that. I really enjoyed it, and I really think it's really thought-provoking, and it's just...
What thoughts did it provoke from you, Robin?
I just think it's really interesting that does happen to people, where they do have these somewhat prophetic dreams. I know I've talked about it before, that some people in my family have that kind of thing where spirits tell them things. And maybe it's something where you have to interpret a little yourself. But if you tell your dad that, and then he's like, bro, this guy came up and he's like, I need this house in a month. Your dream said she was going to be gone in a month. What are the odds? It's just really neat.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. I don't know.
I think it's easy to be skeptical on things like this. And I am a very skeptical person, but especially through doing the podcast, I've heard from so many people and from all different walks of life and all over the world and different religious backgrounds, including like a non-religious background, that people have had dreams like this. And people have had moments where it sincerely felt like something that was super profound to them, or there was a connection between them and their lost loved one, suddenly appeared when they absolutely needed it to happen. And because of that, they felt this sort of connection, and they felt this sort of closure. And what I think for sure is that it definitely seems real. And having a dream like that out of nowhere, and obviously a Ouija board is a symbol of like communicating with someone who's no longer there. And then having all the things that you went through in your dream and being able to see all these memories, it's something that seems like so significant. I would be hard pressed to say that I didn't think that it wasn't some sort of way or some attempt at saying goodbye or providing closure. And the fact that it's also backed up by a timeline that's reinforced in the waking world later is super, like, it's not creepy. I think creepy is a word you use for something that's like not comfortable, but it's like, it's eerie. It's something that just makes you get cold chills and think about the fact that this could absolutely be real, and there's no reason to think otherwise. But if it provided you some sense of closure, I think that's really important. And I don't think that your grandmother's waiting to be laid to rest to pass over or anything like that.
No, I
sincerely think that it's just reaching out to make sure everyone's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then letting folks know, like, this is my timeline. At this point, then, someone new will be in the house, and, we talk about it a lot. Like, time, the idea of time being linear is just something that we have created based off the fact that it is linear, to us and how we interpret it. But it's very plausible that our interpretation of a lot of things are wrong, Yeah. That's just sort of how it's been for pretty much everything throughout history, until we realize through some sort of like actual scientific proof, like, oh, we've been wrong this whole time. And we talk about it a lot. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that time is a straight line, and it's something where maybe after you've passed away, you just sort of get an idea of like things that are to come, without having to, contact like a Ouija board to get some sort of prediction or a psychic or anything like that. And you can just make statements where it's like, in a month, I'll probably be moving on. So it's definitely a thought-provoking email, and thank you so much for sharing it with us, because it's definitely something that's really traumatic. And I still remember when my grandfather passed away, and it happened to me when I was in 7th grade. And honestly, I don't even remember how old I was in 7th grade, but I just remember all the events of it because it was very traumatic. And he was the patriarch of my dad's side of the family, and it was something that changed everyone forever. So just change for the better, and then, carry this story with you for a really long time, and, interpret it as she said bye.
Yeah.
So,
thank you so much.
So, before we move on, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And we're back. Take it away, Adam. All right, so I'm going to move into my second story for this show, and this is actually from Lunabin on Instagram. I'd also like to give a shout out to Lunabin because every time we post on Instagram for our episode, like we have an episode post that comes out every Tuesday, and it has like the pictures of all the things that we talked about.
Yeah.
Lunabin always shares it to their story every single week. It's also why Lunabin won one of our contests that we had. For entries that you get for sharing it, and I'm fairly certain they only shared it on Instagram. They didn't do it on Facebook or on Twitter. So shout out to you, and here is your story. Starts out like this. Okay, so I'm finally sitting down to write the story out. Of course, you can use it on the podcast. This is from my freshman year of college, and I'll call this story Lights Out. It's pretty good.
I like that movie.
Lights Out's a pretty good movie too.
Yeah.
So I went to a college in northern New Jersey that I won't name, but anybody in Trenton area will know this school. The freshman dorms were two 10-story towers that stood next to each other. Each floor had shared bathrooms for men and shared bathrooms for women, and a trash chute in the hall that led down to the basement. This place just sounds like the setting for a horror movie. The two buildings were connected by a student lounge, and underneath the lounge was a restaurant that students would go to at all hours. This place was partially underground, sorry Robin, but it had a big wall of windows and a small outdoor area, so it wasn't totally claustrophobic.
Isn't it crazy though that you could be spending time in a place underground and then the building above you could totally collapse and then you're just stuck there forever?
That's a horrible thing for everyone to imagine.
It's just absolutely
I'm so glad
terrifying.
Robin has put that into all of our brains now.
I just can't. That's why basements freak me out because demons, and just being in underground structures like parking lots, like parking structures that are underground. I'm like, this is how I die.
Isn't it weird to think that a meteor could crash through your roof and hit you at any moment? Or maybe a stray bullet could just break through a window and hit you right in the face? Let's all talk about irrational fears that we could all be afraid of at all times. I'm going to get back to this email now. My freshman year, I was majoring in journalism. Nice. And our final paper, we had to write a news article about the school. It could be about current events, an article on a sports game, anything, as long as it has something to do with the school. So a friend of mine, let's call her Tabby, your friend sounds like a cat, decided to write her article on a local legend that had gone around the school for years. According to the legend, 10-something years prior to our class being there, a student we will call Icarus, it's a really good name, lived in the freshman dorms. By all reports, Icarus was a normal student. He went to class, had friends, enjoyed going to parties, normal college stuff. Until one day when things changed. According to the story, Icarus lived in one of the 4-person dorm rooms in his dorm building. Most of the rooms were for 2 people, but each floor had one room that was a single and one room that was a quad. The quads tended to be the quote-unquote party rooms because they were far from the RA's room and also had 2 doors to enter, so loud music wasn't as bothersome.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I've never been in a dorm, so I don't know what that's like.
I don't know. All the dorms I've been in are tiny and awful. They also weren't next to any other room, so they wouldn't disturb any neighbors. I'm digressing, but this has to do with the story. According to Icarus's roommates, he started acting weird in the week or so leading up to the main incident. There's not quotes around it, but I put quotes around it because I was like, oh shit. His roommate said that he bought a Ouija board and would play with it and act like he was communicating with spirits, but of course, his roommates figured that he was just fucking with them and paid it no mind.
I want to know the logic of people that are like, hey, I'm going to go spend my money on this.
I want to know the logic of using a Ouija board alone, because you're supposed to use it with multiple people, or else it's not supposed to be moving, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, why would you use a Ouija board alone? Because if anything ever happens, it's either you talking to yourself or a demon talking to you.
I think that is why people would do it by themselves, though, because it's like, no one else is pushing it. I want to know if this is real.
Just don't get them. They're horrible, horrible devices. After a few days of this, the room started to feel weird. 2 of the roommates reported things missing that were never found. Alarm clocks would go off at 3 a.m. when they weren't set. Oh, 3 a.m. Things would move around. All 4 boys reported having weird dreams and trouble sleeping. This was a room of college boys, though, so they blew it off and did what all good, responsible, career-minded college students do. They threw a rager in their dorm room.
Rager!
That night, the party was like any other party. The boys invited some friends from their dorm floor and had music and alcohol and lights set up in the room. It was like you'd imagine any college party to be. However, Icarus's roommates say that on that night, Icarus was acting weird. He was apparently mumbling to himself and started to seem agitated as the night went on. At one point, Icarus left to go to the bathroom down the hall, and he was stumbling around muttering to himself. His roommates just assumed he was drunk or high and kept the party going. The next morning, Icarus's roommates woke up to see that Icarus wasn't there. I'm not sure in what order the next details went, so I'll do my best to make sense of everything.
Okay.
Though the boys were reluctant to talk to authorities because they didn't want to get in trouble for their party, at some point campus police were informed of Icarus's disappearance. They called his parents, and Icarus wasn't at home.
This is getting weird.
Yeah. Now, I'm not sure how this detail fits into the timeline of the story, but at some point, one of the people looking into it decided to check the trash chute. Now, keep in mind, This was on the 7th or 8th floor of this dorm building. They checked the chute and found nothing on the dorm floor, but in the basement, they apparently discovered Icarus's blood inside the trash compactor. They didn't find any other remains.
Compactor?
Yep. I'm not sure what they officially said happened, but everyone on campus says one of two things. One is that Icarus got lost in his drunken state and somehow fell down the trash chute, and two is that someone or something followed Icarus and shoved him down the chute that night.
Oh my god! Well, they didn't find the rest of his body?
Well, this is a local legend, too, so it's not like this is 100% for sure.
Okay.
But this is the story as we are being told, so you can interpret it as you wish.
Holy jeez.
And now the next sentence reads, now here's where it gets even weirder. My friend Tabby, who wrote this article on this story, actually lived on the same floor that Icarus was supposed to have lived, and her friends lived in the quad that was supposedly his. The girls who lived there also reported alarms going off at weird hours, phones acting up, things moving or disappearing, and electronics acting oddly. One night when I was at school there, the girls in that quad got out a Ouija board and started playing with it. I don't know everything that went down during their session, but apparently at one point the girls asked whatever they were talking to turn off their dorm lights.
That's like the whole radio thing that happened at your when you guys were playing with the Ouija board, right?
Yeah. When we said, is there anything here, the thing moved to yes, and then the radio went to straight static, and we were listening to like the strongest station in the region. It was crazy. So they asked whatever they were talking to turn off their dorm lights, and then this is in all caps, every light on campus went out.
Shut up.
I shit you not. All of the power on campus went out except for the power on that specific
No
floor.
way. No way.
You could see it from my dorm window when it happened. I totally have goosebumps right now. When it happened, my friends and I walked all over campus, and not a single light was on except for that one floor, and some emergency backup lights in the music building.
No freaking way.
To this day, I don't think anyone knows what really happened, and this is a story that a bunch of college kids like to share at parties, so, parentheses, Adam's voice, this could all be bullshit. However, it's very creepy, and the fact that weird things still happen on that dorm floor is weird as hell. Anyways, that's all I have for right now. I'm sorry if this is all over the place, and I know it's not really a first-person account. I thought you and the Spooky Fam would enjoy something a little more campfire story this time around. I still have more stories that I'll send in the future, but until then, keep on creeping on. Love, Luna. We do love Luna.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for sending that in. That was fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I'm just mind blown. But if that actually all happened, holy cow.
For me, as long as just the lights went out like you say they do, and I trust you, that is absolutely terrifying.
Well, like the dude that disappeared.
Well, the dude that disappeared obviously being like a local legend and not knowing for sure whether or not it happened, that is really creepy. But the possibility of like someone asking like, if there's something here, turn off the lights, and the whole campus going dark is terrifying. Because it's like, they're showing you that they have more power than you ever anticipated. It's big dick energy, and you don't want to fuck with that when it's from the other side. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my god, okay.
So that was a solid story. Thank you so much for sending that in,
thank you so
Luna.
much. All right, so I'm going to get into our final email for the night, and it goes like this. Hello, Robin and Adam.
Hello.
Hello, that's us.
That is us.
My name is Sean, and I'm a new listener from Eastern Kentucky.
Right on.
Hello. I have a collection of stories that I feel fit here on a myriad of topics: ghosts, cryptids, true crime, and more. To send them all at once would be too much for anyone to handle, so let's call this the first installment.
Sounds good.
Hope you have your listeners enjoy. Thank you. Hopefully they enjoy. Hopefully you guys enjoy.
Hopefully.
As a small child, probably preschool age, I used to hear people talk about kids having imaginary friends or see references to things in movies or on TV. Naturally, I assumed that I, like so many others, had imaginary friends, except I didn't understand why mine never wanted to play and why
Oh my god, that's so creepy.
And why one of them in particular was so creepy and seemed only to be interested in scaring me. Most of these things just appeared to be translucent shapes of people with a miscolored hue. That is totally different than any other imaginary friend I've ever heard of.
We've gotten imaginary friend emails, and this is not like any of those.
You know when I look directly into a bright light, then look away, and then see an after image? That's what it looks like.
Wow.
That's so weird. A sort of color-shifting blob in your vision. It's like that, but in the shape of people. I was never bothered by or afraid of my quote-unquote friends. They simply seemed to be focused on whatever they were doing and had no interest in me, or maybe they were unaware of my presence or unable to see me. On boring days, I would sit and watch them perform their repetitive and seemingly nonsensical tasks. There was one, though, that I referred to as the bad one.
That is so creepy to have a nickname for your imaginary friend called the bad one.
Yeah, I mean, normally with imaginary friends, you create them to have fun with you and play with you. And
or sometimes, like,
to cope and stuff like that.
Or have rules. Like, we have... what's the name of Ryan's imaginary friend?
Beats me. I don't know.
I can't remember, but like they follow rules very stringently. So it's something where you have this imaginary friend that also follows these like standards to your life. But I don't know. I've never heard of an imaginary friend being called the bad one. It's terrifying.
It's something that is probably not a friend, you know. But we'll see. Let's continue. Oftentimes, I could feel someone watching me, and if I dared to look around, he could usually be spotted peeking out from around a nearby corner or through a window. He was solid black, so not like blobby like those other ones. Although you could tell that he was a solid three-dimensional figure, he had no discernible features. He appeared to lack any clothing. He was thin but somewhat muscular in appearance with long limbs and digits. His eyes were a dull red like the taillights of a car but viewed from a distance. When I would look at him, it absolutely made my skin crawl, and his shoulders seemed to be bobbing up and down, giving me the distinct impression that he was amused by my fear. Kind of like if you were laughing, you know, and you're, oh man, dude.
This is horrible. This is terrifying. This is a wonderful email, but this is terrifying.
Such sightings soon became common experiences. I would see him on a near daily basis. I grew to hate leaving my house. One night in particular, while my parents were playing host to some family, I was upstairs in my room watching out of my bedroom window. It was storming, the most incredible electrical storm I've ever seen. What's an electrical storm?
Like a lightning storm.
Okay. Do you just see it in the sky, or?
I mean, I've always called them lightning storms, and if the lightning's not coming down from the sky and there's been no rain, I call it heat lightning. I'm not sure if other folks call it an electrical storm.
Like grease
I've
lightning?
I've heard it before. I hate you so much. Yeah, grease lightning, where it just floats up into the clouds, and everyone's like, "Are they dead? What the fuck's going on with this movie?" Grease is just such a weird ending. Anyways, get back to your thing.
The power had long since gone out, and with every flash of lightning, a different appliance in the house got fried. You could see electricity arcing through the TV screens. That is so crazy.
Yeah, that's a bad storm.
One bolt struck the largest of the trees in our yard, splitting it down the middle and dropping it onto our neighbor's garage with a massive boom. My father and my uncle stepped outside onto our covered porch to investigate the sound, as I watched from the window positioned above them, looking out over the porch roof. Each flash allowed me to see that he was there on the roof, crouched down at the edge as though he was looking at something under it. Another flash blinded me and shook the house. As I regained my vision, the next flash revealed his featureless face, all but pressed against the glass just inches from my own.
Holy shit,
oh my
dude.
God. Terrified, I ran downstairs to the comfort and safety of family, only to see my father burst through the door, dragging my uncle who'd been struck by the same bolt that had temporarily blinded me. Even to this day, I still have occasional sightings of the Shadow Man and have even been able to point him out to others who have been with me, Or of all of these sightings, though, only once have I seen the one who wears the long coat and wide-brimmed hat. I saw him walking down the middle of the railroad tracks that were located across the road from my house. I watched as a CSX train, don't know what that is, hauling cars loaded with coal came around the bend and approached him from behind. The horn sounded as the headlights from the train washed over the figure. I wondered if the engineer saw him too, or if it was just a coincidence. But my doubts were squashed as I witnessed him slide open his window and lean out to frantically wave his arms at the man. What?
That's terrifying.
The man with the hat never even acknowledged the commotion as the train made contact with him. He simply dissolved into a black cloud that wrapped around the train and dissipated into nothing. I saw the color drain from the face of the engineer, who slowly let off the horn, leaned back into the cab, and slid his window shut as the train rolled on out of sight. Moments later, my father, who was on the local fire department at that time, received a call that a man was hit by that train at a crossing about a mile away and killed. What?
Wow.
In my opinion, whatever these things are, they just seem to watch us, especially when bad things happen. Thank you for taking time to read my entry and keep on creeping on. Thank you so much, Sean, for sharing your email.
It's a really good email.
That is a really good email. It's really creepy, especially like BT Dubs, someone died just down the way by getting hit by a train. That's just so crazy.
The flashlight where the thing teleports from the roof to being like pressed up against the window, and your uncle getting hit by lightning. Like, the shit is just bananas.
It's terrifying.
It is, absolutely.
So terrifying.
So, solid email. You say you have a bunch more. We want to hear them, so send them to us. If you have not already, please do so. The minute you hear this, immediately, please do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in their emails to the show. We sincerely appreciate it. This is definitely not a second take, and you wouldn't be able to tell through editing anyway, so don't even worry about it. If you have a story you would like to share with us, please email storytime@scarish.com. You can also go to our website, thenewscarish.com, which is just scarish.com. Click on Contact Us, fill out that form. It comes directly to us, or hit us up on any of our social medias. We have Facebook, which is facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Our Twitter is @scarishpod, and our Instagram is @scarishpodcast. Our Twitter went over 1,000 followers.
No, not our Twitter, our Instagram.
Instagram
our Twitter
went over
only has
1,000
like
followers. My bad, dog. It was very exciting to see that because the Instagram was the last social media we created, and we created it like a year into the show. It was super late, so it's nice to see that we've gained a following over there on Instagram, and it's always nice to feel like we're being listened to. Robin, for those folks who would like to donate to us monetarily, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/scaryishpodcast. Those are monthly donations, whole bunch of different tiers. And I think we're going to post up a poll soon about what movies you guys would like to watch on this new streaming beta thing that we have that we can watch movies with you guys on. So if you want to join in on the votes, check that out.
It's only $1 a month.
Yeah, it's only $1. That's the first tier is only $1 a month. So
early access,
and
to
there's a
all
discount
of our
right now.
content.
We're celebrating Adam's birthday, so everybody gets a discount to Etsy.
Yeah, you get a discount to our merchandise in honor of my birthday.
And it's so funny because the code is just something that was just so funny when I made it. Anyway, so if you go to ko-fi.com/scaryishpodcast, those are one-time donations. All those donations go to helping us upgrade our studio setup. And if you've been with us for the long haul, you've noticed that not only is my hair infinitely times longer than it used to be, but our studio, like our lighting and stuff like that, has changed a bunch. Our camera has changed a bunch.
Lighting, camera, microphones, the computer we stream off of. It's been so helpful to have donations from you folks because, a lot of anything you're not donating to is coming directly out of our pocket. And there's not a whole lot to go around on most days, so we take all the help we can get. It helps us keep the podcast moving forward, and we sincerely appreciate everything. All the support we get, regardless of if it's monetary, means the world to us, so thank you to everyone sincerely from the bottom of our hearts. Also, this was the week that we launched the Hear Us Out Network, which we couldn't have done without all of your support, so go check out hearusoutnetwork.com, especially if you have a show that you're looking to get into a podcast network and read on some of those details. It's an exciting time for us. So I think that's just about everything that we have, unless I'm forgetting anything.
Sounds good.
All right. So, Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and I'm sure I forgot something, but we'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.